The hook, the room was dark. Cold air touched his skin as he opened his eyes. For a moment he thought he was dreaming, but the pain in his head told him it was real. He tried to sit up, but heavy chains pulled at his arms. Metal cuffs locked his wrists. His breath grew fast. He was trapped. Strange lights glowed on the walls. They were not like any lights he had seen on Earth. They pulsed in colors, green, blue, violet, as if alive. Symbols ran across the walls, twisting like snakes, changing shape when he tried to focus on them. He blinked hard, but the letters kept moving. They were alien. They made his stomach twist. A sound broke the silence. Soft, clicking steps echoed in the chamber. He froze. The sound grew louder, closer. His eyes darted around. He was not alone. From the shadows, tall figures walked forward. Their armor shone, like glass, but their faces were hidden under black helmets. Each one carried a long weapon with sharp glowing edges. The guards moved in perfect silence, like machines. They stopped in a circle around him. Their weapons pointed straight at his chest. His heart pounded. He pulled at the chains again, but they didn't move. He knew he was one wrong breath away from death. The guards stood still, waiting. Then the floor shook. A deep vibration spread through the chamber, as if the ship itself was alive. A large door at the far end began to open. White mist flowed, out like smoke. He held his breath, staring at the opening. Something was coming. A figure appeared in the light. Taller than the guards. Her presence filled the chamber with fear. Her skin was dark silver, shining like wet stone. Her eyes glowed, golden, bright enough to burn. Around her head was a crown made of living creatures, small winged things that moved like they were part of her. She walked slowly, with a grace that felt both beautiful and deadly. It was her, the alien queen. The guards bowed as she passed. The sound of her steps was soft, almost gentle, but the chains on his wrists rattled with each beat of his heart. She stopped in front of him. Her golden eyes scanned his face, studying him as if he was some strange animal caught in her net. She spoke. Her voice was not human, but it was clear, cold, deep. "You," she said, pointing a long, sharp finger at him. "Human." He swallowed hard. His mouth was dry. He wanted to speak, but no words came out. The queen tilted her head as if confused. Then she leaned closer. "You should not be here," she whispered. "Yet you are." Her breath was warm, but it carried a strange scent, like burning metal mixed with flowers. He wanted to look away, but her golden eyes held him still. Behind her, the walls changed again. This time he saw shapes that made his heart stop. They were not just alien symbols. Some were human words, letters in English, names, dates. His eyes widened. He saw his own name glowing faintly among the shifting marks. "How?" The queen noticed his shock. A smile curled across her face. It was not kind. It was sharp, cruel, like a knife. "You are known to us," she said. "You are marked." His mind spun. He had no idea what she meant, but he knew one thing. He was in terrible danger. The guards raised their weapons higher. The glowing edges hummed, filling the air with a low electric buzz. One wrong move and they would strike. He felt the walls closing in, the air getting thinner. His chest burned. He had never been so close to death. The queen's voice cut through the fear. "You will answer me," she said, "or you will die." Silence filled the chamber. The guards waited. The chains held him tight. His heart hammered in his chest. Then, from far behind the queen, he heard something faint, a soft cry. It was high, like the voice of a child. He blinked. Did he imagine it? The queen stiffened. For just a second, her eyes shifted, not at him, but at the sound. The cry came again, clearer this time. He turned his head slightly, straining, to see. Something moved in the mist at the far end of the chamber. Small shadows, fragile and weak. They were behind the queen, hidden until now. The queen's golden eyes flickered. For the first time, her face changed. It was not anger. It was something else, something almost human, fear. The first clash, the cry echoed again, soft but clear. The chained human lifted his head, trying to see through the mist. He was sure now. There were voices. They were small, weak, and frightened. The alien queen turned sharply, her crown of living. Creatures twitched, their wings buzzing in alarm. For a heartbeat, she did not move. Then her golden eyes narrowed, and her voice cut through the chamber like a blade. "Silence," she roared. The shadows vanished. The cries stopped. The mist swallowed everything again. The guards shifted, their glowing weapons humming louder. They were waiting for her order. The human felt the chains bite into his skin as his chest rose and fell. He could barely breathe. The queen turned back to him, her face unreadable. She leaned close, her crown flickering with strange light. "You heard them," she whispered. "Didn't you?" He didn't answer. He couldn't. His throat was dry, his mind raced. What had he just seen? Who was crying in the mist? Her golden eyes pierced him. "Speak." I don't know," he stammered. The queen's lips curled into a cruel smile. She raised her hand, and at once the guards snapped. To attention. Their weapons glowed brighter, ready to strike. "Human lies," she said softly. "Human always lies." His heart pounded. He shook his head quickly. "No, I swear, I don't know." The guards stepped closer. The hum of their weapons filled his ears. He could feel the heat from their energy blades. One move, and he would be cut in two. Then, in a burst of courage, or madness, he spoke again. "Why are you afraid of them?" The chamber went still. Even the living crown on her head froze, wings tight against their bodies. The queen's eyes widened slightly, but then her face hardened into fury. "Afraid?" she hissed. Her voice thundered against the walls. "You dare?" He had no plan. The words had just spilled out. But now he saw it. Just for a moment, when the cry rang out, she had looked shaken. Like the sound was a weapon sharper than any blade. He pressed forward even as the chains dug deeper. "Who are they? Why are you hiding them?" The queen's hand shot forward, her long claw-like fingers wrapped around his throat. She lifted him from the ground with terrifying strength. His feet kicked against the air. The guards did not move. They watched in silence, waiting for her command. "You know nothing," she snarled. Her golden eyes burned like fire. "You are dust. A remnant of a dying world. You are mine." Her grip tightened. He gasped, choking. His vision blurred. Spots of light danced before his eyes. He clawed at her hand. But it was like iron, and then again, the sound came, a cry, louder this time. More than one voice. Small, desperate voices calling from the mist. The queen froze. Her claws loosened just enough for him to suck in a ragged breath. Her head turned sharply, eyes searching the chamber behind her. The guards shifted nervously. For the first time they seemed unsure. He dropped back to the floor, coughing. His throat burned, but his mind was clear now. Those cries meant something. They were important. They made the queen hesitate. That was his only chance. "You hear them too," he whispered, forcing the words through his pain. "You can't hide it." Her gaze snapped back to him. The fury in her eyes was now mixed with something else, something he couldn't name. The queen stepped back slowly, releasing him. She studied him in silence. The crown of living creatures hissed and buzzed, restless. Finally, she spoke. "You should be dead already. But perhaps you serve a purpose." She turned to her. "Guards, bind him tighter, take him to the inner chamber." The guards obeyed at once, their weapons lowered, but their hands were quick and rough. They grabbed his arms, forcing the chains to lock deeper into the floor. Sparks of energy burned against the cuffs, sealing them tighter. He winced in pain but didn't resist. His mind was still on those cries. Children's voices, innocent, fragile, hidden in this nightmare place. "Why?" As the guards finished, the queen leaned closer again. Her golden eyes glowed brighter than ever. "You will see what lies beyond the mist," she whispered. "And when you do, you will beg for death." The floor beneath him shifted. The entire chamber seemed to move, sliding downward. The walls glowed with new symbols. The air grew heavier, thicker, filled with a strange humming sound. He felt like he was sinking into the heart of the ship. The cries faded, swallowed by the strange hum. But the echo of them stayed in his mind. The queen stood tall, her crown alive with twitching wings. She did not look at him again. Her eyes were fixed on the mist, as if guarding a secret that even she feared. He knew one thing now. Whatever hid behind that mist was the key. And if he could reach it, maybe, just maybe, he would survive. But survival meant facing the queen, her guards, and the mystery that shook even her heart. The first clash had begun. The hidden truth, the chamber sank deeper into the ship. The walls shifted like liquid metal, symbols glowing brighter with every movement. The human gritted his teeth as the chains pulled tighter. The guards stood around him, silent and unblinking. Their black helmets showed no eyes, only reflections of the golden light. The queen walked ahead, her crown alive with restless wings. She did not look back. Her steps were soft, but the chamber itself seemed to bend to her will. Finally, the floor stopped moving. The humming faded. A new door appeared in the wall, tall and carved with strange marks. The air grew heavy, thick with heat, and a scent like burning flowers. The queen raised her hand. The door melted open. Beyond it lay another chamber. This one was darker, but alive. Pulsing walls dripped with veins of light, red and gold, as if blood and fire ran inside the ship. The air buzzed with energy. And then he heard it. The cries. Louder this time. Clear. Not just one voice. Many. He strained against the chains, his chest tight. The sound cut into him, sharp and human in a place that was not human at all. The queen stepped inside. The guards dragged him after her. His feet scraped the floor as the cuffs burned against his skin. He tried to see through the shadows. At first, he thought they were statues. Rows of tall, glowing pods lined the chamber walls. Each one was filled with mist. Shapes floated inside, small and fragile. He blinked, heart racing. They were not statues. They were children. Dozens of them. Some had alien features, slender arms, glowing eyes, silver skin. But others looked almost human. Their faces soft, their bodies curled like sleeping infants. Some were a mix of both, hybrids. His stomach twisted. His breath caught in his throat. This was impossible. The queen's voice rang out, breaking the silence. "Now you see." She moved closer to the pods. Her long fingers touched the glass of one cocoon. Inside, a child with golden eyes stirred, its tiny hand pressing weakly against the barrier. The queen's face softened for just a moment. Then she turned to him. "Your kind calls us monsters, destroyers. But here is proof we are more." His voice cracked. These are children. They are future," she said coldly. "They are heirs. My blood and yours." The words hit him like a blade. His knees weakened. He stared at the pods again, disbelief clawing at his mind. Some of the faces were so familiar, too human. "No," he whispered. "That's not possible." The queen's smile was cruel. "It is truth. Your kind was weak. We took what we needed. Flesh, bone, memory. We made them better, stronger." He shook his head, his heart hammering. "You're using them. You're turning them into weapons." Her golden eyes blazed. "No. I am giving them destiny." The guards shifted, weapons humming. The air grew hotter. The pulsing walls seemed to beat faster, like a living heart. The human looked at the pods again. Some of the children's eyes flickered open. Their small hands pressed against the glass. Their faces showed fear. They were alive, awake, trapped. His voice rose, raw and desperate. "They're not soldiers, they're children. They don't belong to you." The queen stepped closer, her face inches from his. They belong to me. All of them. Even those behind you now. His blood turned cold. Slowly he turned his head. At the far side of the chamber, in smaller pods, he saw them. The ones whose cries had haunted him. 3 children with golden eyes, but faces more human than alien. Their hair dark, their skin pale. They looked weak, fragile, but alive. The queen's crown twitched. Her voice dropped to a whisper. They are mine. My daughters. For a moment, silence filled the chamber. The guards stood still. The humming of the pods was the only sound. The human's chest ached. He could not look away from the children. They were the secret she feared, the reason she hesitated, the reason she had not killed him yet. He spoke softly, but his words cut deep. You're afraid of them. The queen's eyes flared. Her voice shook, filled with fury. Silence. She raised her hand. The guard snapped forward, weapons aimed at his chest. The humming turned into a violent buzz, the tips glowing white-hot. But he did not stop. His voice grew louder. They make you weak. They make you human. Her face twisted with rage. She screamed, and the chamber itself shook. The pods trembled, the children inside crying louder, their small fists beating against the glass. The queen froze, her golden eyes darting back to her daughters. The guard stood ready to strike. The human braced himself. But he knew the truth now. The queen's greatest strength was also her greatest fear, and if he lived long enough, he could use it. The secret discovery. The chamber shook with the echo of the queen's scream. The walls pulsed faster, veins of red light running through the metal like blood. The pods rattled in their sockets, and the children's cries grew louder, sharper. The human pulled at his chains, his wrists raw, his skin burning where the cuffs cut into him. The guards' weapons buzzed, ready to slice him into pieces if the queen gave the order. But she didn't. She stood frozen, her golden eyes locked on the pods that held her daughters. For a moment she looked less like a queen and more like a mother. Fear flickered in her eyes. The sound of the children's cries tore through her fury, pulling at something deeper. The human saw it. That small weakness. That single crack in her armor. He spoke, his voice hoarse but steady. They need you, not as a queen, as a mother. Her head snapped toward him. Her face hardened again, but the words had already cut deep. Her crown twitched restlessly, the tiny winged creatures shrieking in her anger. You dare speak of things you cannot understand, she hissed. But he did understand, or at least he was beginning to. Those children weren't just hybrids. They were the heart of her secret, the one thing she couldn't control with fear. He forced himself to keep talking. They cry because they're trapped, because they're afraid. Just like me. The queen raised her hand and the guards pressed their weapons closer. Heat seared his skin. One step more and he would be ashes. But before she could speak, one of the pods cracked. The sound split the air. A sharp, breaking noise. The queen froze. The guards stiffened. The human stared in shock. A hairline fracture spread across the glass of one of the smaller pods. The one holding her youngest daughter. A pale hand pushed through the crack, followed by a rush of glowing mist. The child inside coughed weakly, her golden eyes flickering open. The queen's face twisted. For the first time he saw terror. No, she whispered. Not yet. She rushed toward the pod, her long fingers pressing against the glass. The crack spread faster. The mist spilled out, covering the floor in a glowing fog. The child inside pushed harder, her tiny body trembling. The guards hesitated, their weapons lowered slightly, unsure if they should attack or protect. The human's chest burned with new hope. This was it. The truth she had hidden was breaking free in front of them all. He shouted over the noise. You can't stop it. They don't belong to you anymore. The queen spun back toward him, her golden eyes blazing. Her crown shrieked in fury, wings buzzing so loud the walls trembled. They are mine, she screamed, but her voice was drowned. by the sound of the pod shattering. Glass exploded across the chamber. Mist flooded the air. The child stumbled forward, her small feet slipping on the slick floor. She fell to her knees, coughing. Her golden eyes blinked, confused, afraid. The queen dropped to the floor beside her. She reached out, but the child flinched away. The human's heart pounded. This was the secret, the one thing that broke her. Her own daughters did not see her as a queen. They saw her as something to fear. The chamber filled with chaos. The other pods shook violently, their glowing lights flashing. The children inside stirred, pressing harder against the glass. Cracks spread across more of the pods. The cries turned into screams. The guards looked at each other, their movements no longer perfect, no longer certain. Their helmets turned back and forth, waiting for orders that didn't come. The queen's hands trembled as she tried to pull her daughter close. The child resisted, pushing against her with surprising strength. Her small voice cut through the noise. "Let me go." The human felt the words like a blade in his chest. He pulled harder at the chains, desperate to break free, desperate to reach them. "Fight her!" he shouted. "Don't let her keep you here." The queen rose to her full height, fury returning to her face. She pointed at him, her voice shaking, with rage and fear. "Silence the human!" The guards snapped out of their hesitation. Weapons lifted again, humming louder, ready to fire. But before they could strike, a second pod shattered. Then a third. Mist filled the chamber like a storm. Children spilled onto the floor, weak and coughing, their golden eyes glowing faintly in the fog. Their cries joined together, a sound so powerful the walls shook. The queen staggered. Her crown of winged creatures shrieked, scattering into the air in panic. She clutched her head, her golden eyes flickering as if she was fighting something inside her. The guards faltered again. Their weapons wavered. Some stepped back. The human's heart leapt. This was it. The discovery. The truth that even the queen could not hide. Her power was not absolute. Her children were not her soldiers, they were her weakness. And now, they were free. The dangerous choice. The chamber was chaos. Shattered glass covered the floor, glowing mist rising like smoke from the broken pods. The cries of the children filled the air, sharp and piercing. Some lay coughing, their golden eyes flickering weakly. Others pressed themselves against the floor, too weak to move. The queen stood in the middle of it all, her crown alive with shrieking wings. Her golden eyes burned, but her face was no longer calm. Fear and rage fought for control. The guards raised their weapons again, their dark helmets turning from the queen to the children, then back to her. They didn't know who to strike. The human pulled at his chains, his skin raw and bleeding. His mind screamed at him to act, but his body was weak. He looked at the children, fragile and helpless, and felt his chest tighten. They were just like him, trapped, terrified, waiting for someone to save them. The queen's voice thundered over the noise. "Take them back," she ordered. "Seal them in the pods." The guards hesitated, their glowing blades humming, but their steps slow. The children's cries seemed to hold them back. The human saw his chance. He shouted, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Don't listen to her. Look at them. They're alive. They're not weapons. They're children." The queen spun toward him, her face twisted with fury. "You dare defy me again?" Her hand lifted, ready to strike him down. But before she could, one of her daughters stumbled toward him. The youngest, the one who had broken free first. Her small hand reached out, trembling. "Help me," she whispered. The words cut deeper than any blade. The human's heart pounded. He pulled at the chains with everything he had, metal biting into his flesh. Sparks flew, the cuffs glowed. With a scream of pain and effort, one of them cracked. His right hand tore free. The guard snapped toward him. Weapons lifted. The queen shouted, "Kill him!" Time slowed. He had two choices: run to the children and shield them with his body, or use the moment to strike the queen while her attention was on him. His mind raced. If he attacked her, maybe, he could end this now. But the children would be left helpless. The guards might slaughter them before he could stop it. If he protected the children, he risked being cut down without even touching her. The youngest child's hand reached again. Her golden eyes were wide with fear. He made his choice. With his one free arm, he ripped the chain from the wall, sparks bursting around him. He stumbled forward, ignoring the pain, ignoring the guards. He threw himself between the children and the weapons. "Stay behind me," he shouted. The guards closed in, their glowing blades humming louder. But they didn't strike. Their helmets turned toward the queen, waiting. The queen's golden eyes blazed. She lifted her clawed hand, her face torn between rage and panic. Her daughters clung to the human's legs, their small voices crying, "Don't leave us." The chamber fell into a tense silence. Only the children's sobs broke the air. The human's voice shook, but he forced the words out. "You kill me. Fine. But if you harm them, you'll lose everything. They're not your prisoners anymore. They're your weakness." The queen trembled. Her crown shrieked, wings scattering in wild patterns. Her claws twitched, inches from striking. For the first time, she did not know what to do. Her daughters clung tighter, hiding behind the human's torn body. Their golden eyes stared at her not with love but with fear. The queen staggered back as if their gaze wounded her more than any weapon. "No," she whispered. "They are mine. They are destiny. Without them, I am nothing." Her words cracked, almost like a plea. The human saw it. Her empire, her power, her fury. It all rested on these fragile children. And now, they were slipping away from her. He spoke again, louder, his voice cutting through the silence. "Then let them choose. Not you. Not me. Them." The queen's claws clenched. Her golden eyes burned with a fire that threatened to consume the room. But her daughter's eyes, innocent, trembling, full of fear, held her back. The guards shifted, uneasily. Their blades lowered slightly, their discipline cracking. Even they could feel the queen's hesitation. The human's chest heaved with pain, but he held his ground. His free arm spread wide, shielding the children. His broken wrist bled, his legs shook, but he refused to move. The queen's scream shattered the silence. She raised both hands, energy crackling in her palms. The walls shook, the pods trembled, the mist burned brighter, but she did not strike. Her daughters' voices rose together, soft but strong. "Mother, stop." The queen froze. Her golden eyes widened, her hands trembled in the air. For a moment, she looked lost. The human's heart pounded. He had made his choice. He had stood with the children. Now the queen had to make hers. The rising tension. The chamber shook as if the ship itself felt the queen's rage. The glowing veins in the walls pulsed faster, spilling light across the floor like streams of fire. The guards closed in again, weapons humming with deadly energy. The human stood in front of the children, his body shaking from exhaustion, his arm bleeding where the chain had torn free. Still, he refused to move. The queen's golden eyes blazed. Her crown shrieked with high-pitched wings, scattering sparks of light as they darted through the mist. She raised her hands, energy swirling between her fingers, hot and violent. "You will not take them from me," she growled. "They are mine." The children behind him trembled. Their small hands clutched at his torn clothes, their voices weak, but steady. "No, we don't belong to you," one whispered. The words cut like a blade. The queen's face twisted, torn between fury and pain. The guards shifted, restless. Some pointed their weapons at the human, others at the children. A few hesitated, their blades flickering as if uncertain. The human saw it, the cracks spreading through her control. Her army wasn't unbreakable, her children weren't hers anymore. And she knew it. He forced his voice out, loud and sharp. "You call yourself their mother, but you lock them in cages. You call yourself their queen, but even your guards hesitate. You're not as strong as you think." The queen roared, her voice shaking the chamber. She slammed her hands together, and a wave of energy ripped across the room. The floor split open, metal bending. under the force. The guard staggered, the children cried out, and the human was thrown to his knees. But he still covered the children with his body, shielding them as best he could. His skin burned from the blast. But he did not let go. The queen advanced. Each step heavy, filled with fury. "You think you are brave," she spat, "but you are only flesh, weak, breakable. You will die here." The human coughed, pain racking his chest, but he lifted his head to meet her golden eyes. "Maybe, but not. Before they see what you really are." Her eyes narrowed. For a moment he thought she would strike him down, but the children's cries held her back again. The oldest daughter spoke now, her voice shaking but strong enough to be heard. "We don't want you." The queen froze. Her golden eyes widened, her claws trembling. It was the first time any of her children had rejected her out loud. The guards stirred, their helmets turning toward the queen. The humans saw it. Their discipline was breaking, their faith shaken. The more her daughters resisted, the weaker her command became. The queen screamed, a sound so sharp it made the walls shudder. She raised her arms, energy boiling around her like fire. Her crown burst apart, the winged creatures scattering into the mist. The human pulled the children closer. His voice cracked but stayed firm. "If you destroy me, you destroy them too. Is that what you want?" Her hands trembled in the air. The energy pulsed, hungry to be unleashed, but her daughter's golden eyes were fixed on her, wide and full of fear. The youngest spoke again, soft but cutting. "Please, don't hurt him." The queen staggered. The energy in her hands flickered. Her chest heaved as if something inside her was breaking apart. The guards looked around, their blades lowering slightly. Confusion spread among them. For the first time, they were not following her orders without question. The human saw his chance. He shouted, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Look at her. Even her children don't trust her. What kind of queen is that?" The queen's roar drowned out his words. She slammed her claws into the floor, sending another shockwave across the chamber. The children screamed. The human threw himself over them again, the blast searing his back. Pain blinded him, but he held on. His body shook, but he would not move. The queen advanced, her golden eyes blazing, her face twisted in fury and grief. She raised her hand one final time. The energy swirled again, brighter than before. The children cried out together, their voices sharp and desperate. "Mother, stop!" Her hand froze in midair. The energy flickered, sputtered. The chamber went still. The guards lowered their weapons. The mist settled. The queen stood trembling, her golden eyes locked on her daughters. For the first time, she looked uncertain, broken. The human gasped for air, his body on fire with pain, but his heart pounded with hope. The tension was no longer just between him and the queen. It was between the queen and her own blood, and the decision she made next would decide everything. The climax, the chamber had fallen into a heavy silence. Mist drifted like smoke, glowing faintly in the light from the broken pods. The children huddled behind the human, their small hands clutching his torn clothes. His body shook from pain, but he stayed upright, shielding them with what little strength he had left. The queen stood in the center of the room. Her golden eyes blazed with fury, but her face was twisted with something else too, conflict. Her hands still glowed with energy, but they trembled in the air as if she no longer trusted herself to strike. The guards shifted around the edges of the chamber. Their black helmets turned back and forth between the queen and the human. Their weapons hummed sharp and deadly, but they did not fire. They were waiting for her command. The human's voice broke the silence. It was weak, cracked, but filled with defiance. "You can kill me, but you'll never control them again." The children pressed closer to him. Their golden eyes stared at their mother, wide with fear. The youngest whispered softly, her voice trembling. "We just want to be free." The queen's claws curled. Her chest rose and fell with sharp breaths. For a moment, she looked less like a ruler and more like someone drowning in her own choices. The human pushed on, forcing his words out. They don't see a queen, they don't see a savior. They see someone who cages them, someone who's afraid of her own blood. The queen's scream shattered the silence. She threw her hands forward and a storm of golden energy burst across the chamber. The human braced for death. The children screamed, but the energy split in two, slamming into the walls on either side of them. Metal melted, sparks rained down. The ground cracked beneath their feet, but the human and the children were untouched. The guards staggered back stunned. Even they seemed unsure of what had just happened. The queen's chest heaved. Her eyes glowed brighter, but her hands shook violently. She had missed. No, she had stopped herself. The human saw it. Her greatest battle wasn't with him. It was inside her. He rose shakily to his feet, his broken wrist hanging limp at his side. His free arms spread wide, shielding the children once more. He locked eyes with her and spoke. They don't fear me. They don't even hate me. They trust me. And that's something you'll never have. The queen's claws twitched. Her mouth opened, but no words came. Behind him, the children's voices rose together, weak, trembling, but strong enough to echo in the chamber. Mother, we choose him. The queen staggered as if struck. Her golden eyes widened, glowing, brighter than ever before. Her crown of winged creatures screeched in panic, scattering into the mist until none remained. Her guards turned their heads sharply, confusion spreading through their ranks. The humming of their weapons faltered. Discipline was crumbling. The human's heart thundered. He had pushed her as far as he could. Now it was all or nothing. He shouted, his voice echoing through the chamber. Look at them. They're not your soldiers. They're not your property. They are your daughters, and they've already chosen. The queen let out a roar, louder than any before. Her energy flared, shaking the chamber to its core. The floor cracked, the walls rippled, the air burned with heat. The guards stepped back in fear, their weapons raised uncertainly. For the first time, they weren't sure if they were following a queen or watching her fall apart. The human stood tall, blood dripping from his wounds, but his voice cut through the storm. If you kill me now, you'll lose them forever. If you touch them, you'll break the last piece of yourself that's still alive. The queen froze. Her golden eyes flickered wildly, torn between fury and grief. Her daughters clung tighter to the human, their small voices whispering together. Please, stop. The words struck like a blade. The queen staggered back, her claws lowering. The storm of energy around her began to fade. But the guards did not see hesitation. They saw weakness. One stepped forward, his weapon buzzing to full power. Then another. Then all of them. Dozens of blades glowed in the mist, all pointed at the human. He turned slowly, seeing them close in. His body ached. His strength was gone. He knew he could not fight them all. Still, he planted his feet. He spread his arm wide, shielding the children behind him. His eyes burned with defiance, the chamber filled with the deadly hum of weapons ready to strike. And then, the queen's eyes widened. Her claws fell to her sides. For the first time, she looked not like a ruler, not like a monster, but like a mother, because behind him her daughters had stepped fully into the open. Her guards aimed at me. Then the alien queen saw her daughters behind me and froze.